what all have you been up to lately other than, you've got the G2 thing going? You got any other exciting projects happening?
Um, let's see, exciting projects. Lately I've been focusing a lot just on my health, just since 2020, late end of 2020 slash early 2021. I've been dealing with just a lot of health issues. Um, so I've been kind of focusing on those and just trying to feel better, I guess. It's kind of why I haven't been as active on social medias and stuff like that, even though I've still been playing. Um, and streaming is just because I'm focusing on some other stuff lately. I'm hoping to come out of that soon, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's good. You found a team that you have been very happy with. So I don't think we've actually like gotten a chance to talk since the new G2 roster formed.
No,
So like,
definitely not.
yeah, because I'm trying to think. Because who was it? Shock was trying out as like the interim coach for the Olympic showcase, and
Yeah.
then you guys tried out a couple other people. Who you guys landed with? Who was it? Ryu.
Yeah, we landed with Ryu. He is from Europe. He has a history of coaching kind of earlier on in the scene.
Hmm.
But as of recently, he hadn't. He's kind of like us, where he was just waiting on the outside for a chance.
Hmm.
And we brought him through, and it's been going really well. I think adding Tally obviously has had a big impact on our roster just because with Kia we were really struggling to kind of find our form, despite a lot of really hard work from Kia on the back end and our team just trying to make it work. But switching out Kia with Tally is obviously a big change, and it comes with a lot of changes. And at first, we found a lot of success, but our play style is something that we don't think um, is really congruent to professional play. Like it'll win us, you know, how we've been playing lately, but we want to kind of change our play style into something that's more applicable to like more tournaments than just the women's scene.
Hmm.
So we've been trying to make a lot of changes lately, and that's kind of been hard to get used to for our team. And other than that, yeah, it's been going great.
Yeah, changing up your play style is definitely one of the hardest things to do, especially as a team and not just like as an individual. It's one thing to be like, I'm gonna like not die for everything and just rotate out a little bit sooner. It's another for everybody to like agree like this is the big picture that we have to accomplish.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
It's basically about for me. Well, I haven't coached a professional team yet, but I've done coaching on the side, and it seems like to me the first step is always just trying to get on the same page
mhm,
and understanding that your teammates are similarly viewing situations so that you can all think the same way so that you're not all doing totally different things. And that in itself to me is extremely hard just from the beginning to because if your mindset isn't similar to your teammates, then that's something you have to work on, and a mindset change sometimes can be impossible for players.
mhm.
Well, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's really difficult. Like for me, I have a hard time changing the way I think about the game. And when I try and change things, it always takes me a while, if at all. Sometimes I'm stubborn and can't. So it's just like it's one of those things that we're just trying to experiment with, and so far it's been good, but it's hit or miss. It's difficult.
Yeah, I think especially with like the pace of play, like nowadays it's more about like having all those decisions made off the field so that way when you start the game, like you know what everybody's going to do. And so if something's going wrong, it's all right, we know in this area something's going wrong, and so we know this is the area we got to change. So,
Yeah.
but I think as more teams pick up like the systems mentality and such, it's going to be easier, I think, to not only like change play styles for like players coming up, but also to like make adjustments like mid series, uh, just because you know it. If we know everything we're doing beforehand and it's not just kind of vibes, it's very easy to be like, oh, we just keep getting dusted in the midfield.
Yeah, exactly. Um and just as someone who has played this game for so long, at an older age, I feel like I view the game a lot differently than a lot of pros currently do, or people on the up and up, I guess, or like
Hmm.
semi-pro level. And I feel like definitely now it's starting to get into a more mature state in terms of gameplay, like analytics and having coaches have assistants, or I don't even know if assistant is the right word, but like help. Like for example, Kev Pert on Luminosity.
Hmm.
I don't want to say you because I don't know your role or whatever, but I feel like you help M80 as well, even though you're not the official coach role. You're some type of coaching role. And I would argue the same for Kev Pert. So I think teams are starting to recognize those extra elements that can be included in. And that's really good for the growth of any game, whether it's a sport like basketball or any data driven analysis. I think, even though you kind of start to walk a tight line with being too data and analytical driven and just having, be the game and the sportsmanship. But, I think data driven analysis helps propel the game that you're playing forward. It's just about how much information you choose to use and what you decide to, take into account when it comes to information.
Yeah, because you can definitely get to the point where it's everything you do is completely predictable, and then it doesn't matter how theoretically good those decisions are. If your opponents know exactly what you're going to do, most of the time, especially at the pro level, they can counter what you're doing.
Yeah. And the pro level is even it gets really interesting because I feel like players have so many options at a
Hmm.
given point. And that's to me what makes the games really exciting is the high level decision making. So I think once you start to get into like the top level pro play, that's when mechanics actually become a decision, which is interesting because I think before you get to that highest level, mechanics are just kind of what you're capable of. And then, you kind of go from there. And it's an interesting transition point of like, when you get so good at the mechanics that you can choose which one to execute at a given where the ball is, etc.
Yeah, and I think the like 1v1 mind game too that like mechanics now offer, like, because it's one thing like back in the day, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna air dribble this. It's like, can he complete the air dribble? And it's like over zero goes, yes, I can complete the air dribble. Uh, and so it's like it used to be more about skill checking, as like the fighting game community calls it, where like you're just doing something not because it's necessarily the best option, but because it requires so much skill to respond to it or respond to it consistently, that if they can't, like, you just get a free win or a free goal or a free stock, or
Yeah.
whatever it is you're talking about. But nowadays it it's no longer a skill check, it's a mind game, and getting into a position where you can even uh, have the space to execute something like that is getting harder and harder to come by.
Yeah, and I think I would say my peak of my pro career was probably during the skill check era, and then the start of the flip reset um, era. Because a lot of what I would consider me mastering, is that skill check era. Like I'm very good at putting the ball into areas that require like a difficult touch to get out of it. But just as a former pro, like where I'm struggling right now, I feel is the ability to consistently perform mechanics that are the correct decision. And once I hit the mechanic, it's whether or not to use it is the hard part. Like a lot of the time when I'm playing, I'll get the flip reset, and well, this not anymore. But when I first started doing it, I got so consistent. Every time I would get it, I hit it.
Hmm.
And it's like if you keep doing that and you get dunked, like slam dunked, it's actually a terrible idea. Just because you can. So like, there are certain things that I've been learning over the past year or two that don't apply anymore. Um, but definitely I think like the mind games are my favorite part of gaming in any game. How you both are at a position where you deeply know the game so well and you're trying to outplay the other person while they know you're trying to outplay them, and that's where it starts to get fun for me anyway. That's the level of gaming that I like to be at, if I could choose.
Yeah, like at the when it gets to like that point in the game, like it's what have you done so many times that they expect you to do it, and therefore it becomes that game theory. Like, should I do it again because they're not going to expect me to do the same thing 5 times in a row, uh, or should I change it up and like what do I change it up to most often? And these guys play each other like all the time in like rank twos and stuff. So it's like they get those like micro decisions down of, oh, like this player loves to like get the flip reset and, fake it into
Yeah.
like a wave dash shot, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I played. I had like a mental folder on everyone I was playing against. So like, I don't know, when classics would go for the ball. I had played classics like thousands and thousands of times in ranked. So I knew what he was most likely to do when he goes for the ball, especially in a high pressure situation. I had played him thousands of times when we were on 0 seconds or he was down a goal. Like, and I'm just using him as an example, but this applies to all pros, and I imagine that most pros do it too. Where like you keep track of this stuff, like tendencies, habits, and that plays a lot into, at least it did, into my defending at the time when I was there. Like you have to know who you're playing against, their play style, and all those things go into effect when you're trying to play and counter them during the game. And that's that part of the game that I think is really interesting and the most fun. And have you ever had any pros talk about that when they come on here? Like, remembering people's traits and things like that?
Well, you're the first pro to come on, so
Oh, really?
yeah, you're the
Oh,
first
snap.
first player to come on.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Breaking and making history here. Well, I'll say that I did, still do. But it's definitely because when I'm on offense, I don't think like that. For me, when I'm on offense, I don't consider anything of what their abilities are. I kind of take it step by step. So it's like, okay, do I have a free ball? Yes. Okay, so then I go for the free ball. Did I keep it close? Yes, I did. Then it's like, okay, where's the defender? And I'll check, and it's like, oh, he's back wall. Okay, you go for a flip reset. But if I see him jumping off back wall, I don't go for the flip reset. So there are things like that when I'm attacking. I don't pre-plan what I'm doing. I know some people that I've talked to do. They say that they have like an idea of what they're doing, they go for it. And I'm a player that doesn't. I kind of just take things that happen at a given time and then react to it. Um, so that's just kind of how I play, and I would guess that I'm weird and that most people don't play like that. Because I haven't played at the highest level in the current day of age. So I don't know if that same like the same level of spacing that I had, and it's all different now. So it's hard. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just the pace of the game because like to get a free ball in like the pro area, like that top 16 is tremendously difficult. And like what I would consider a free ball for me is something that they would be like, how do I have this much time?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it's like I can get a touch on this, like, but like they're like, oh yeah, this is completely free. And it's like they're beating them by like 3 pixels, and they just know they have that 3 pixel advantage to do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, at least like for me, it going into the challenge almost. Like as you guys are both approaching, you kind of know like, oh, he's beating me by a half second, so I have to turn up higher so that I'd make sure I dunk him. Or oh, I'm beating him, so I can lean forward a little more to put it over, and like little things like that. That just become even smaller windows now. And for someone who's getting older, like myself, it's I don't know. I'm someone who doesn't believe that age affects skill. I think older players can actually be better. The problem I think is time and uh the word I use is like care.
Mhm.
You have to like care about getting better. You have to care about the game. And just as you get older, I've found that I still care. It's just that, you know, different things start to take priorities. But when I was like a teenager, there was nothing else in the world that mattered. And I think that those two types of mindsets, even though you can have similar performance, at the top level, that type of difference matters.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
go
that.
ahead.
Oh yeah, like I think there's room for both, and like it's not that like like the young hotshot like that's aggressive and just goes for everything, and like is learning by just throwing themselves at everything. Versus, okay, I've
Ranked.
done my time throwing myself at everything. I know like when I'm beaten what I can do now. And then there's like a different level of confidence of like, oh, I don't have to go right here because uh like I could go and it's like I could get a 50 and then I'd just be out of the play and like all my team is like still getting back. So like the timing of when I need to challenge is like different in the mind of an older, more experienced player.
Definitely.
And and
Definitely.
it's like this the younger players still feel like they're in like that skill check era to a certain extent. I think they're still like trying to prove like they deserve to be there, so they have to be the hot shots. uh but the more experienced pros, they're like, oh yeah, I've proven I should be here, and now I'm just going to outsmart everyone while I'm here because I have already
Mm,
shown that I can do all those things.
right. Yeah. I definitely think there's an element of that. Um, it's hard to say. I think the the pro scene is in an area where it's so young. Um, and I don't know if it's ever been discussed about like talent pipelines or what have you. But I don't know. I'm kind of concerned for Rocket League. I don't really see players coming through in the past few years like they used to. Um, where like you'd have 5 to 10 people on the second level at any given time, like working their way up. When I was, we had a whole RLRS of players that were fighting their way through, and now it seems like um, 1 to 3 or 4 bubble players get a pro tryout per year, and it's just kind of the same circle of pros that keep forming and reforming, and it's not necessarily a terrible thing, because obviously the talent is a high level, but you need to have some people coming through the pipeline, filtering through. I think in NA, I think there's other regions that have it. Don't get me wrong. I just think NA is kind of in this spot where it's a little concerning. Um, but average age is so young that it might not even matter. I think how many teams are the average age is like 15? Like they're here for a while, assuming that they still enjoy the game. So it's
Yeah.
hard to say.
Yeah, when it comes to like the younger generation, like I think the big difference now is they have a lot more information to like go off of, and
Oh, so much
it's
more.
just for them it's just sorting and trying to find like what is actually like the not just good information but is like the best information. Like I kind of said in like my last video, like there's a like the road to SSL way of thought about like how to play the game, where it's like this very passive, reactive style, which is kind of what you have to do in ranked. But then when you get in like a team competitive setting, it's like you've got to be doing something on the pitch all the time, or you're putting your team in a bad spot. Maybe not right now, but in 3 to 4 seconds, like your team could have been in a much better spot if you had been doing something productive other than just waiting. And so I think that mindset shift is probably, I think, the hardest thing coming up for players that are working their way up. Because like rank B is kind of the same thing. Uh, B plus is a little bit less, but like even in rank A, like I see players that are like going like, "Oh man, like you just sat there for 2 seconds and like you could have done a lot in that 2 seconds." And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I could go on a whole rant about ranked and how I think it's ruining the competitive scene, but it's not worth it, really. It's just
nah. Go
like,
on. That's what this podcast's for.
I mean, it's just I genuinely think these players play twos and think that that's how you play threes, and it's just not. Um, and it's because you're not playing twos right, number one, in my opinion, but also because like you're playing twos the wrong way, and then you're taking that two threes the wrong way, and it's okay because every other teammate that you've had has been a ranked player who does the exact same thing. And then you all just look at it in replay and be like, yeah, we're all playing the same way. This must be how you do it. And it's not. It's just not
Yeah.
how you do it. No one understands in twos that if you beat one player, it's a 2v1. It is not a 1v1, it's a 2v1. And it seems like anytime anyone, like, there's just no awareness from anyone at all. I'm so, it's mind boggling. Um, and it's more than frustrating. I mean, unless it's like an attack at the net, there's never a pass. There's never just a pass. Like, um, there's no concept of awareness, and I think that that is the biggest part in threes is understanding spacing, where your teammates are, what you need to cover, where the ball needs to go, where the space is. And those things aren't being factored at all in twos. The only thing that I think most people are feeling in twos is I need to control this ball. How do I control this ball? Oh, I can't control this, so I'm going to bang it. And then if I can control it, I'm going to control it. And that, to me, just leads to a whole myriad of problems down the road. um,
Yeah,
that
just because you
almost
can
every ranked
control
and
it.
bubble player faces, and generally, in my opinion, never gets over.
Yeah, just because you can control it doesn't mean that you should. I mean, SSG like counter stratted NA this year. Like, if you
Yeah,
look at the way they play, they're just like, they're not worried about a pass or a bang or anything. They're sending two every single time, betting that they're going to try and control the ball. And 9 times out of 10, they are. It's
and
like,
and it works because no one plays around it.
yeah.
Like, it just blows my mind. And then but this isn't a problem that I've been seeing just recently.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been
This has
saying
been a
this since
problem
I
for a
was a
while.
pro. Like 6 years I've been talking about this. Like, and then it doesn't matter because I don't know. You still have a pro scene, you still have players playing at a high level, it's still entertaining. So in the end, like, who's going to get mad? No one but me, really, because I'm the weirdo with 15,000 hours in the game since I had a frontal lobe at 25. So I view things way differently. This is almost like my PhD the last 10 years. I would say that I have a PhD in Rocket League since I was 25. I've been playing this game, studying the game, coaching the game. And everything I see in twos is wrong. Except unless you start to enter 2v2 tournaments where pros are calming and actions are happening with each other. Even sometimes on ranked, pros will
Mhm.
mentally connect because they've been playing arguably the right way for so long that it just is natural to them. But when you start to, play with people outside of, like, I don't know, top six teams, they all do the same thing.
Mhm.
Even top four teams, I would say. Even some top four teams play that way in ranked. And I just think that it doesn't affect you individually if you're in the circle, which I would consider like the pro scene. If you're in the pro scene and you individually play that way and you have friends, like, it's not a big deal. But for you, average Joe coming through who wants to prove themselves and wants to get into the scene, learning these things would make you stand out so easily. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it would just be so free of a pickup because you'd see this person just demonstrating these things. And everyone's like, oh, well, Karma, why don't you just play that way? And oh, why don't you just do that? Then you'd get picked up by a pro team. Well, at the time, I felt like I was playing that way. And that was why my team and I were winning. And, then certain things happened and certain things take place and opportunities never come to fruition. I miss an open net, another problem comes to fruition. Like, things happen throughout your career where you don't get to put into work or put into action all these things that you've been working on. So to dispel that, oh, Karma, why don't you just do it argument, it's not, it's three people to a team, all
Yeah.
on the same thought process. Just if I think this way, it doesn't matter. You also have to convince your team to play this way. And then your team has to learn how to play that way. And then you have to buy, like, it's a whole process. It's not as easy as, here, we need to play this way, go.
Yeah. I think for me, the starting out with the level that I did at and just being able to come in because my players had a more traditional sports mindset of coach comes in and tells you what to do and here's how we play.
Well,
It
that's
was
nice to hear.
yeah, And like that's how I came in like with like the college team, and like it worked really well, and we like had upsets. Like even the games that we didn't win were insanely close and should have never been that close. And like that's when I was just like, why? Like what's the disconnect here? Like why is this working so well? Like I didn't feel like I was that much smarter than anybody, and that nobody could figure this out or something like that, or I had something that really special. But then like the more and more I talk to people, and like they're like, yeah, like this wouldn't work like if you had like this level and like consistently. It's just like I've been told like every single time like this stuff like doesn't work. And I think at least this season, like we definitely had some like mental issues that we had to work through, and hopefully we've given them the tools for next season to be able to handle those stressful situations. I just think we didn't address it soon enough. But as far as like the tactical side of things, we're the only team in North America have to win over G2 and Gen G. It's like
Yeah.
those are the two most tactical teams in North America right now. And so it's like there's something to this that, every time somebody said, oh, this can't work, it's like, I'm just wondering how many more times like things like this has to happen where people realize, oh, not only does this work, but this is like the way things should have always been.
Yeah. Well, one issue Reddles and I had when I was trying out for his team was our play styles. Like it was clear Reddles wanted to demo and be aggressive and kind of do his thing, and he was joining this oldest the oldest pro player at the time as I don't know what age he was, 18 years old, who wanted to play like completely different. And just naturally, like even though I tried to change and he tried to change, it didn't work. Like you look at our DreamHack results, we tried, it wasn't going to work. Like it just, and then they moved me out and they won DreamHack like I don't know how much later, like a few months later, like 4 months, 2 months later, like right after I was playing with them, they won the next event. And I think that that's a really good example of just how two different play styles can work at a given time, I guess. Whereas you had my play style, who was an RLCS play style on our team, but we couldn't quite make it work as consistently as we wanted to. And then you had Rattlesuit coming through with this whole new attitude, whole new play style. I'm just going to go demo, mess things up, kind of like a different form of skill check. He didn't just demo. I'm not trying to say
Yeah.
that. There's a whole other
Yeah.
things he did, but that was a big part of their play style change, which is something I never did. It was rotate, rotate, rotate. Just keep rotating. That was the NRG way. And I think, as the play styles have gone on and gone changed, demo is still prevalent right now and key. But I think that addition in, like adding in the demos, is what adds this huge variable that you have in today, because it no longer allows people to stay in positions,
Yeah.
which is a problem. Because staying in positions would make things way easier, but you can't just sit anymore. It's like if you sit, you're dead. So it's just it's a weird change that has been, I think, good for Rocket League, but also bad in a way. I think it makes it more exciting, but I think for like I guess gameplay wise, if you're like a gameplay purist like me, like you kind of want to just have rotations and team plays win themselves out, the demo's kind of like it messes everything up. It just takes players out when you need them there, and it's tough.
Yeah, I think it's just it focuses so much on like the timing of your plays, and like it's no longer what can you do on the ball, it's what can your team do off the ball. As
Yeah,
if you look at, I'd say probably like 80% of the goals like in Rocket League, like it's a fairly open net. And it's not because the player on the ball did something mechanical. It's that the team was the teamiest team for 30 seconds in a row, and the other team got overwhelmed because they never got a chance to do anything. And it's because every single player was being attacked every single second of the game. It's like,
Yeah, and for games, for me, this is where it starts to take off to two different paths. So for me, it's like what makes the game I don't know, I guess the most fun for you when you're playing a game. And usually it's like an individual way to play the game or a team way to play the game are usually the two paths you take. And just as an athlete growing up, I enjoy passing. So I go down the team route. Like I was a point guard in basketball, 3-point person. I like shooting sometimes, but mostly I like driving and then passing. And I feel like in Rocket League, you kind of have the opposite way to practice all the time. Whereas people are in twos where you're supposed to be playing with a teammate, but you're actually playing individually because you are under the assumption that your teammate has no idea to play as a team. So the entire time, everyone is just playing for themselves. And under pressure, I think that you are a creature of habit. So if you perpetually under pressure and then your ranked matches are trying to solo carry and do solo plays and do all these things, in an RLCS match, when things are on the line, that's what you're going to do. When you're under pressure, you're going to play the 1v1, you're going to play the shot. You're not going to pay attention to where your teammate is. You're not going to pay attention to what they're covering, etc. And I think when you practice like that, that's where the high pressure problems start to come in. And I know that sounds like a classic karma rant, looping it back to twos, but I really do think that it's an issue. And the lack of, there's no solo threes in ranked anymore, which is kind of how I learned how to play. You used to be able to queue by yourself with everyone else who was by themselves, and then you'd all play threes together. Now, to me, there's something there to build off of. You have to learn how to play with who's on your team at a given time. You know, you have a random team. It's like six man's queuing all the time. And I thought that that was a really good way, at least for players coming up through my age, was learn how to play as a team because you always have to know where your teammates are. And now there's none of that. No one even really plays threes anymore. Even ranked, some players don't play anymore because it's so bad. And now, when you have the way players are playing in twos, and then ones is obvious, um, because now even twos players are going so far to say, "Oh, it's just 1v1s, two 1v1s." It's just like, no, that is not. That's not how you play the game. In my opinion, you can play it that way at a very high level, but once you reach three people who know how to play as a team versus three players who play individually, you lose every time. Like over 85% of the time, I think you're going to lose. Um, and I always like to go with the best numbers, 85% chance to win if we all play right. I would try and learn that play style. But again, this is just my opinion. I'd love to hear what other pros say. Like, I would love if Garrett was here, told me I'm a moron and that soloing is way better because this, and this. Um, I just don't, I don't know. I just don't view it that way. When you have more than one person on a team, I feel like you need to use each other as much as you can to get the most advantage. And that's just the name of the game. Who
yeah.
uses each other the best?
I think the biggest thing, I don't know why people still teach this, is in twos, second man is both second and third man. And so you have double the responsibility. And I think that is why people, that is a fundamental misunderstanding of like what twos is. It's not that you're playing threes and that this person has to cover the jobs of two people. If you want to make a threes analogy, it's like first man also has half of second man's responsibilities on the front
Hmm.
end. Like,
Like,
what is,
stop overcommitting and leaving me in 2v1s.
yeah. Like, if we look at like just like a very oversimplified version of like what 3v3 is, first man's job is to set up their second man. Second man's job is to either be set up or set up their third man. And if second man can't do either, their job is to rotate out and let third try and set them up as one is recovering. It's like that's probably like a little oversimplified, but that's like the general idea of 3v3 is first man's trying to set up second. And if second can't be set up by first, second is now trying to set up third. And if second can't do anything, they're going to rotate out quickly and third is going to come in and try and set their second man up as the original first man is recovering. But in 2v2, like that can't work if second man is supposed to be setting themselves up against two people.
Right.
It's like
Which
people,
is where the concept is missed, I think,
yeah.
in threes. which
Yeah.
is your second man can also be a setup man.
Hmm.
Doesn't have to be a scorer.
Yeah.
And I feel like in ones you feel like you're the scorer only, and if a
Mhm.
setup happens, cool. That's not how people play. Or I mean, that is how people play. How people should play is I'm going to attack the net and then I'm going to choose which option best sets up my teammate. If it's a shot that puts it a bad rebounding, cool. But if the backboard's wide open and you can hit it off with speed over the person behind you for a free shot, then that's the play. But these are not the thoughts of a first person. It's I'm going to bring the ball towards the net and see if I can score. That's pretty much what most people think. And then if I can't score, I'll just 50 it. There's no real, oh, I'm going to bring it this way so that when the defender jumps, and I'm going to position my car here so that it goes over the top of me, but I bump the defender and my teammate has a free one-on-one in the net. Like, those are not how people think. And I think that that change of mindset as a first man is crucial to making threes gameplay the best it can be. Because
Yeah.
right now, I think it's close, but it's not almost there.
Yeah. I think also like in twos, like because everybody only plays for that 50 now, and they're like not expecting anybody to be a teammate, they cut themselves off from even being a passing option.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like it's one of these like weird dynamics where first man has been so bad for so long in twos, and it's been taught so wrongly for so long in twos that now, as a consequence, second man also has to play at that equal level of bad, or you're just never going to get anywhere. Uh,
Yeah. No, you do. It makes it very confusing.
yeah.
Like in my games, there are times where I almost feel like I should never go for anything
Hmm.
because everything the other person tries to do is terrible.
Yeah.
But if I never go for anything, I'm defending 6 2v1s their
Hmm.
whole game, which I could save, but I could mess up once and get scored on. So it's like, okay, do I play the normal way and play 2v2, 2v1 all the time? Or do I sometimes just send it for the stuff that he does and hope that he can get back? Like it's almost like it's a
Hmm.
weird balance. Um, that I have not figured out the riddle to. Ranked is a mind numbing
Mine, yeah.
experience for me. I
It is for
had
me
to change
too.
the word real quick.
It's
But it's very, very confusing. And I get flamed all the time. My players leave 30 seconds into the game. There's just like it's really an odd state right now, and this is at like I don't know
yeah.
2100, 2200. These people are doing this. So I don't know. It's
Yeah,
odd.
it's like I'll do that sometimes, but it's like when like a teammate has shown that they're either a hard trolling or like boosted to like such a severe extent. Like it's
Oh
like
yeah,
I already
I
know this.
do it too.
Yeah,
I get
like I know
tilted.
this. I know this game is over just by the way. Like you've taken 3 kickoffs and like one, the way you did the kickoff was bad, and then two, like you're sitting up field like I'm supposed to pass it to you after you got destroyed on kickoff and I'm in a 2v1. uh but
The kickoffs are a whole other thing.
oh yeah. uh
I don't know when people stopped learning how to do kickoffs, but it started like
oh
I don't
yeah.
know. I feel like someone decided to hard cheat. Maybe it was Zen,
Mhm.
and everyone started copying holding boost into the kickoff as second man, and I don't understand why. Maybe at
It's
the
such a
toppest level, I don't understand it at all.
it's such a risky thing to do, and it's the thing that people don't understand about pro play is do not copy the kickoffs. The kickoffs are all so like heavily
It's the last
discussed and
second.
it's
Yeah.
heavily discussed and coordinated. So, like they're calling if they're hard cheating or soft cheating most of the time before they even go for the kickoff. And so
Well, and I don't know,
yeah.
but has AJ ever said like he changes it last second based on where someone's coming at them from? Like in ones when we do kickoffs, I can change my kickoff last second based on how they're going to hit and where they're going to hit it from. And I know like you're
Yeah.
dealing with your players are all insane once players, so I'm sure that they can change it
Oh
last
yeah.
second as well. So there's
Yeah.
just a bunch of things going on.
Yeah, like it's like, hey, we're trying for this. It may happen to like go over here though. And so a lot of it is like we're setting up our kickoff to a point where we know basically one of three things is going to happen. Like, and so, and it's so rare that anything outside of those three things happen that it's like, hey, let's go for this kickoff because it's going to result in X, Y, or Z. And then, like, as it's going to, as the 50 is about to happen, he's calming, like, hey, X is happening or Y is
Yeah.
happening. It's not so much changing it on the fly as much as it is like, we know the goal of our kickoff setup. And so one of these three things is going to happen.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like that's the thing that about pro kickoffs that you cannot copy in a ranked game because it's not, oh, NASA's just deciding to hard cheat and
Well, you're also
yours is
missing a
going for
person.
mid boost and like
The
AJ's.
third isn't
Oh yeah,
there.
oh yeah,
If it
like
goes flying over your head.
yeah,
So
yeah. Like I think like the soft cheat I think makes the most sense. I think the hard cheat is more, everybody hard cheats enough that you have to hard cheat a little bit to just be there for
and
the 50. But
please grab pads and go back. If you
oh
lose the
yeah,
kickoffs, stop going for the big boost no matter what. Like that's the most annoying thing I
yeah,
think I've seen on kickoffs is my teammates just go for the big boost after kickoffs. Oh, my job's done. It's like,
yeah,
dude, the ball is flying towards the net 130 miles an hour. I have to full turn, backflip, save it, and it's gonna go off the crossbar. You need to be there, dude.
yeah,
But nope, he's grabbing boost. It's just like, oh god. Okay.
yeah. It's that mindset of like that first man, because first man isn't considering his teammate. It's just like, oh, did he bring it towards the net? Cool. Now it's my turn to go. Versus like, I can't count how many times like I'll be sitting in the opponent's corner with the ball and I'll be forcing them to 50 it. And like I'm winning the 50s. And then teammate just comes flying in and like slams the ball across the field. It's like, bro, like, who are you trying to get the ball to?
I just gotta hit it.
It's like, I'm in the corner. Like I could have space, I could not have space, and they're like riding up behind me. They're like, oh, I've got to play behind my teammate. And that's that road to SSL like mindset, but misapplied to a certain extent. But like that's the, I think road to SSL has actually done more to hurt Rocket League than it has to help, because it's like set these suboptimal like ways of thinking and normalize them to the point where if you actually try to be a teammate or expect somebody to be a teammate, like even at the highest of levels, like people are surprised like that you're there or don't know what you're doing.
It's also like even in 2000, the teammates aren't consistently able to execute like what you give them as
Yeah.
well for a pro. So if you spend your entire game setting up your teammate,
Hmm.
most of the time you're going to lose because they're not capable of scoring what you're giving them consistently enough. So
And
there's
that's
also
because
that
they don't.
element as well.
Yeah, but that's also because how often do they actually get to practice being set
Right.
up? And so it's like there's this catch 22 of like we've doubled down on the worst way of playing
Yep.
because it's the best way to win right now versus developing players. And one, the game's more fun when like you're passing and stuff like that and you're getting like these team clips. Like what was that clip that Joyo posted like I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago where like he pre-jumped and like there was a 3-man
Oh yeah,
passing
yeah.
play. It's like those are the funnest moments, like not only in ranked but just like in games. Period.
Yeah, I think it's why G2 is the best team in the world, or
Oh yeah,
maybe one of them. I
yeah,
mean, they are
easily.
the best team playing team um by far, and I am not saying that it's because of this, but listen, Sathu came from my generation of players.
Hmm.
I think that that generation of players, especially Sathu, knew a lot about the game at a basic level. And you had to master the game at a basic level to get there. And it was just at the point where the advanced mechanics were starting to come in. So players like that came from, played when I did, have that really good understanding of the game, as well as that nuance understanding that's coming along with the new players that is kind of individualistic.
Yeah.
I don't need to understand mechanics to teach Jorias how to play the game fully. He understands mechanics enough, and I can help him with his decision making. I'm not going to give him drills to work on it. He's mastered that himself. So like things like that, I think um, I don't think it's a coincidence that G2 are the team that pass the most and use each other the most and are also the most successful consistently this year. Even though other teams maybe you could say have higher peaks, etc. Um, I just think that their ability to team play and use each other as consistently sets them apart, and I attribute that to Sathu just because of having been his teammate, kind of knowing how we similarly view the game when we played together, and how we both value like team aspects of things and how G2 approaches it. Um, I just give a lot of credit to what Sathy has done with the team because it's hard to get three players who are as talented as they are to all buy in, all be in a good mood, all try and perform, all be ready to practice, and yeah, I just think that G2 is doing a good job of showing. I think where the next level of the game can go because they're definitely not amazing at it yet. There are a lot of things I think are forced, and especially on defense, I feel like they get a little bit confused. They don't know how to react when they go for passing plays that don't work well yet. Um, so I think there's a lot of room for them to improve on, but I like the way that they're starting to experiment with it more than the other teams right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason Sathu is consistently coached teams to like the highest level. Like I think he has like the highest amount of like grand finals like as an NA coach like on lands.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I
It wouldn't
mean,
surprise me.
yeah, because I mean, you go back, it's like,
What other team did he coach before G2?
well, I mean, it's all been with the G2, and
Oh,
like
it's only
that's
G2. Okay.
yeah. So like if you look back, like I'm trying to think, when did he originally
I
took
think it was
over
him, JNaps.
right after Rizzo, or was it right as Rizzo was retiring?
I don't think he ever coached Rizzo. I could be wrong. I don't think he did. So I think it was that roster after, which was Atomic, JNaps, and who's the third? This
Oh,
is bad that I'm forgetting this.
yeah, same here. Uh,
I'm just gonna look it
what's
up.
yeah?
Sorry, third player.
Isn't it Chicago? No.
Yes,
Yeah,
Chicago.
Furo. Yeah.
He coached Chicago for sure.
Mhm.
So it was when Rizzo left, I believe Sathy took over. I can look it
Yeah.
up. He started on September 30th, 2021. And Chicago stopped on October 31st, 2023. So yeah, he coached Chicago, Atomic, and Jane Ash for almost a year, 2 years.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if you look at, he had what a land, what was the winter major that he won uh, back in 2022, 2023, and then he got to the grand finals and worlds. Like he's consistently performed with this strategy across multiple years, and I don't know why teams aren't it, not necessarily just like trying to steal it outright, but like trying to learn from it.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I learned how to play the game. I literally downloaded every pro game that NRG played, and I would switch and I would watch them from above, how they moved, and then I would switch to points of view just for random decision making ideas. And that's how I taught myself basically how to play at a higher level. I did it for like 3 years, I'd say. Just like studying them, studying the replays. Not just them. I liked Europe more. So I would look at Flipside, um, what was the girls team?
Uh,
Weedham Girls.
yeah,
I loved
Weedham
Weedham
Girls.
Girls.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would watch like I was a big Remco fan when I first started. So just like things like that that you can totally just the replays are there.
Oh yeah,
And how they're moving is not rocket science, guys. It's 3 on 3. It's 3 people versus 3 people on a closed environment. So like you can see there are certain areas of the field that they commonly slow down at. There's certain areas of the field that they commonly shoot from. There's certain areas they commonly position at. And if you just look at replays within like a month of you looking at replays, you'll naturally just know parts of the field where you start to slow down and things like that you can learn just from watching pro replays. Now you can't play exactly how they play because that takes hours and hours of understanding. But just starting to put yourself in those positions, I thought was a great way to start to learn, and that's basically how I learned. Um, Granted, I had been friends with high level players and playing at a high level the whole time, but I had never like asked a pro player to coach me. I had never asked a coach to help me. I kind of just started learning on my own because I was curious, and it just took off from there.
yeah. Like it feels like we just need like a renaissance of like we need the next Verge. Like it, because like if you look at like now, like who are the like big coaches, so to speak, like Verge was probably like the first coach that was like really big, like in the community, like at large.
Mm.
You had Gregan to a certain extent. I don't know too much about like the European scene, uh, but like Verge was like the Rocket League coach back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, like, there's not a like, this is the guy, you know,
Mm.
that everybody listens to. Everybody's like, it's all these like little sub communities,
You don't
and
think
the issue.
Farah is near him?
Well, the issue is Farrah doesn't do content.
Right.
Like I would.
But he's
So
won what? How many with multiple teams now?
oh yeah, like he has the capability of it. Like so same thing with like Sathy. Like there's a lot of great coaches, but there's not like a if you asked a average Rocket League player who Verge is, like that may or may not like follow the pro scene, they've probably at least seen him before, like a video popped up on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know, like Farah, Sathu, like myself, Nick, like name any other coach, like there's not really one for this age, and I think that's what's kind of hurting the community is like there's not enough uh, coaches like guiding the conversation, and I don't think there's enough pro players like guiding the conversation either, because we have, as far as like people who consistently do content, we have Appjack, we have Reddles, like who else? Arsenal occasionally.
Yeah, I think Arsenal's all I would put
Yeah,
Arsenal in there.
yeah. I know he's been
Um,
taking a step back to like uh, do more so mental health, which I think is really good for him.
I don't think Zen streams. I do think I would consider him one.
Well,
I follow his YouTube channel. He uploads all the time. He has shorts uploading all the time.
he
He
just
has
has an
TikToks all
editor.
the time.
Yeah, he
I
just
know,
has an
but
editor.
he's putting it
Yeah,
out there.
he's putting it out there, but he's putting out gameplay. He's not really putting out like himself.
Personality, yeah.
Yeah, personality. Like that's the key component that like I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
when it comes to like discussions like and stuff like that, like there's really not a lot of people out there talking to the community at large. And so,
Yeah, no, I think as a community there's been this sense of I don't know what the right word is for it. Because finality isn't the right word, I would say.
mhm,
But almost a giant cloud is over the community right now. I don't think the players at the top have passion or care for the game enough to want to make content on top of already what they're doing because there's no inspiration from them to draw from. And I know that sounds really spoiled, okay?
mhm,
Because these kids to me, are incredibly lucky. They get an insane salary at a young age to do what they loved. And if I were in their position when I was their age, oh my God, my life would be different. But here we are. So, with all that being pushed to the side, I think that there's a giant lack of inspiration from the Rocket League community right now, and I think that starts with the developers and the organization of the RL Esports. I'm not saying that um, they're killing anything by any means. I think they're trying their best, but you have to understand from a player's point of view, it has been a constant downward trend for years. And as players who get so excited about our futures, so excited about the game, so excited about the esport, the community, I can tell you for a fact that when I started this, I was leaving Blizzard's Hearthstone game because I had been having constant conversations with Blizzard about how I think that what they're doing with esports is terrible and how they have pump and dump scheme that I vehemently disagreed with. I went on podcasts, I'd talk about it. None of it mattered. I raised my voice with Blizzard. They don't care. Now it comes out later. Now you guys know what happened with Blizzard. Okay, I'm not saying I'm a genius. Anyone in my position, there were multiple people who viewed it like I did. You could see it coming. And I think in Rocket League, a lot of people, not saying that that's coming, but a lot of people feel the same way. There's a lot of lack of inspiration. There's not updates that people are happy about. There's no game modes that are, there's nothing being updated right now to help content creators, help create content, help inspire reasons to make videos. Um, and I think that that has hit for years, has just taken a toll, taken a toll, taken a toll. And you have people like Reddles, like apparently Jack, who are doing so well on their platforms that it doesn't affect them. They still do it because they make tons of money from it. If Reddles had a YouTube channel that was like 5,000 viewers and he wasn't getting any subs and he was posting, I don't think he would be posting a ton either. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know Reddles well enough to say he would do whatever. But I'm trying to use that as an example of the players that have had success since the beginning have been inspired the whole time, and they're continued to be inspired by money that they're earning that started years ago. But current age players, when they start doing things, there is nothing. There's barely any comments, there's barely any interactions. And that is their own fault because that's how I started too. I didn't magically appear with numbers when I started streaming, etc. I streamed for a long time with nothing. But I think it's somewhat on the developers to help facilitate things in a time like this, where you're in a transitional period. It's clear. Everybody sees it, right? You've dropped some casters, you're not doing as many events. The budget is the same for the last 2 years or less. You've been acquired by a new company. All those can be true. But at the same time, you have to at least acknowledge the transitional period and help it in a way. And I think the way Sonics have helped has been okay. They do community tournaments. They're reaching out to the community. Sheista's doing a lot of work behind the scenes with competitive, from my tiny understanding, and they're working really hard back there. The problem is, to me, you're in a mega company now, $1 billion company with levels and levels and levels and levels of clearance. You're not just psionics anymore. And I think when people saw them joining Epic, they were like, "Oh my god, huge budget. We're about to go crazy. We're about to launch pad off." And it's done the exact opposite since joining Epic. It's been nothing but cuts. Um, so when you have a community who sees all that, this isn't a yearly thing. This is now year 1, year 2. You could argue maybe year 3. Like since COVID, they've struggled.
Hmm.
And they're not the only company to have struggled since COVID. So I'm not really going to blame them. But it is a little concerning when you know that they are acquired by multiple billion-dollar per year revenue profit company, and yet you constantly see downscaling. Um, so I can understand why the community is frustrated, why there's a lack of positivity almost in all senses, because I think even the pro players are looking at it and like, we used to have events here, 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 here. We used to be burned out. Now you're telling me we have 8 months off potentially, and I'm losing my contract on top of that because they don't want to pay me for nothing, which makes sense for 8 months. Um, and I can see like the overall pessimism. People aren't as enthusiastic to make content for the company that they think kind of just looks over them. Um, and hopefully that doesn't come off as bad. Because I've been passionate about Rocket League since I came here. I've said to the owners of the company, I think your game can be a flagship uh, game in the esports realm. It can transition normal entertainment sports to esports. It can be a perfect thing. You just got to find your niche. And I think that they've been trying to do that, and they had a good thing going. I think COVID kind of really um, messed things up.
Oh yeah,
I can't say how. Sorry, JC. I don't know how, but
yeah.
I'm just assuming something happened along the line that I don't know about that changed the course of things because it's clear the actions are following. If you just look, always follow the actions the company takes, right?
Hmm.
I mean, they're trying to tell us something, we're just not sure what.
Yeah, I think the big thing is it, with older titles, like if the game was like in a more stable state, kind of like if you look at like how CS:GO was, and like CS has like been an esport for years on end, like how long it took them to transition from CS:GO into CS2. Like I feel like we're in that transition period, but the
Could be.
difference is like Valve was like it's happening eventually. And that's what they're like, "Hey, it's happening eventually, we're not going to rush it." And then they're like, "All right, it's ready." And then everybody, lost their stuff over it, And
Yeah, but CS had a main, they
mhm,
had secondary, they have
mhm.
pro, they have like almost 5 levels of quote unquote pro scene.
But
Um,
also that was
right?
built up, yeah, but that was also built up by third-party TOs. They don't really have an
Okay,
esports
that's
team.
good.
And that's
So
what gives
Rocket
me
League
hope.
has been trying to do that in their defense.
Yeah.
Okay?
And
To
bringing in
anyone listening,
Blast for
Rocket League
4
has been
years.
trying to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing in Blast for a 4-year contract, who has done that and been
Oh, I
like the
didn't know it was
main.
4 years.
Yeah. So like that's a
That's good news actually.
yeah. So like that shows me you don't sign a 4-year contract over something that's like like this. Like if you're just gonna let it die, like you're gonna do that 4-year contract. You're gonna give them like first year is like, hey, you're gonna learn. Second year, you're gonna experiment. Third year, you should have it figured out. And fourth year, everything should be running smoothly. And now we renew your contract if that's happened. Uh, from a business perspective, that's what that looks like to me. Uh,
So that hurt me. I was
mhm,
working with ESL on some cool stuff.
yeah,
I did not know that Epic was talking to other companies. So
yeah.
when that Blast announcement happened, it caught me off guard
Oh, it caught me off guard too.
like crazy. I'm
Yeah.
not kidding. I was working with two different people with two different circuits of things going on. That had really cool things coming that I was excited for to talk to people about that now I can't even say.
Yeah.
So there's also something I'm working on that's happening next year that I've been working on for 8 months
Mhm,
that might not even get announced.
yeah.
Now, there's been like a huge change in the past month or so on the attitude towards the event, and now that might not even happen. There's like so many things that are frustrating behind the scenes that I want to talk about, but it's just, um, you know, you have to keep in mind Rocket League is doing their best, even though at least I think so. It
Mhm,
doesn't like it may not look like it from the outside, but personally, just from knowing Scheist all of these years, he's extremely passionate about the esports scene. He's been working within the company for such a long time that I imagine that he wants to do certain things that the company just cuts off.
mhm,
And I think that that is always a struggle
yeah.
with big companies and creativity. It's just always they're kind of uh, ever going battling partners. I don't know how to describe it, but um, yeah, I think Rocket League is trying their best. When Corey left, I think that was a big gap that they had to
Mhm,
fill. Who was the head of the esports production team? I think Cliff ended up taking over his job, and he's really passionate
mhm,
about Rocket League, which is exciting. I like him a lot. So I think that Rocket League's future, it's still exciting, don't get me wrong, but with everything I said before, you have to understand how the average person who's involved in this community is viewing it without the information of all the knowledge behind the scenes of like a 4-year contract and other things going on that they're trying to bring in. Um, you can understand the pessimism from the outside. It does look like it's kind of like you stripped your house of all the furniture and everything, and the outside looks nice. And now you just got to refurnish it. You just put the furniture back in and start living again, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I feel like it seems like they're making some changes that are like just very short-term solutions. So like, hey, let's get us through like this time period. But like, I really think we just need to bring back like the developer stream that happens like most. If you look at every gaming company that's successful, heck, even Fortnite does this. Is like every like quarter or so, there's like this dev live stream where they're like talking about, hey, this is what's going on. Here's what we're working towards. Here's the cool ideas that we're playing around with. We don't know if they'll work out or not, but like, give us your feedback on like these ideas.
Yeah.
Like old school RuneScape, like they have a dev stream, I think once a month
I've been
or
playing that
once
game
every.
since I was like 5. I'm
Oh
not gonna
yeah,
lie.
dude. And the reason why everybody loves it so much is like 80% of it's like the interaction with the devs. It's like that company
Yeah.
has been bought and sold, I think, 9 times. Like since
Really?
the Gower sold it originally.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's
Like
crazy.
it goes through like so many different holding companies, but like the dev team and stuff, like for the most part it's holding companies and they just kind of let them be. Uh,
Yeah.
they're more like passed around kind of like a stock than they are.
Who
Uh,
wants to make money from us this year?
yeah,
Okay, next.
but like they're invested in the community. They have like direct community feedback all the time. Like uh, I feel like there needs to be something to where there's interaction that feels like interaction between like the community
Yeah.
and like, because like if you look at the infamous Falador riots, you know like when
Yeah.
everybody was like mad about trading, like everybody like gathered in Falador and like was protesting in the game, you know like it's like there's not really a space for that in Rocket League. Like you can't really like get 10 people in a private server and be like spamming quick chats because we want better servers. Like it's like, you know, which I will say, like the fact that they're changing over their server fleet, I am so thankful for.
Yep.
Uh, like it's
That contract needs to be burned in the fire and heated for warmth in winter. That is for sure.
yeah, uh,
That is an old
well,
contract
perfect.
from what I understand. Like I think that might have been one of the original server contracts,
Oh
which
yeah.
got worse. They were so good when Rocket League started.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's because the API is up way more than it was when we first started playing. So like there's so many things more the server has to react to now and it can't keep up. I don't know what it is, but
I
the
think it's
first
just scale.
iteration of the servers were so good. I used to QEU. That's how I learned the game was playing in Europe in the mornings. And now you can't queue Europe. You can't even queue West in the US. If you're on the East Coast, it's just bad.
Yeah.
Even the East servers are bad. So thank God for that.
Yeah, I think part of it's scale, and then part of it is also just if you have a computer for 5 years, it gets old, and like
Yeah.
those servers, I think just they physically need updates. There's like a lot of things that happen. Like if you look at it from like you don't look at it as like this mythical server thing. Think about it as if it's like your own computer. It's like, oh, it's been running all day. It's like it's a 5-10 year old CPU. Like I've got a GPU that came out in 2005. Like, and I've
Oh
been
my
running it.
God.
Just like it's
A
like if that's
2005 GPU.
well, I mean, if you think about it,
Did they
like
even have them in two? Yeah, I guess they did.
yeah, but like if you look at it that way, it's like oh, and like thousands of people are connecting to this thing at once, and like
Yeah.
it makes sense like that the servers would like slowly degrade over time.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Just
thing. I sit here and complain, but I've never run a game.
yeah,
So, I also don't know what I'm complaining about, which is a huge issue.
yeah,
Because a lot of the times I want to sit here and complain, but I don't know what I'm talking about enough to complain. I
yeah.
just have one side. So it's you always run into that
That's where like the
that type.
community aspect would come in too. Just like like imagine if we were able to get somebody from the
Oh,
dev
yeah.
team to come on and like not even necessarily tell us about like what it is, like, oh, the Rocket League servers specifically are doing this, and like this is our specific plan and all of that. Like, just somebody from the company just like come on and just like, here's like the basic technical side of like, here's what's going on. Like, okay, you have ping here, and like this is how ping works, and like this is why in certain situations this. It's like, I feel like that in and of itself would do so much for the community, because that's also like easy content to just come on and like explain to us like we're 5-year-olds. Because
Yeah,
for most
we
of
are.
us,
Most of
like
us.
when it comes to like network engineering, uh, we're 3-year-olds, like not even 5-year-olds yet. Uh,
Yeah.
so like that's the and then like everybody gets to make reaction content to that, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like if you look at like most of like old school RuneScape's content, it's, hey, this is the update they're putting out this week, it's a bunch of bug fixes, and here's this cool cosmetic item. It's like, that's like I think 80% of it. Like there's a guy that he literally just reads the old school Ricky or old school like Wikipedia thing, and like that's literally all he does. He just reads it and like
Yeah.
puts gameplay
Well, I
over it.
mean, Rocket League has some of that too.
Yeah,
I mean, you have replay uploaders
yeah,
who get hundreds of thousands of views,
yeah.
which crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I think one of the first, if I were to start a company, just from what I've learned being on the esports side, I would definitely have community outreach be one of the top things.
Oh yeah,
Um, because
because
I think that the trouble with so the stages in publishing a game to me are one, coming up with the idea, getting it to be release ready. That is a huge issue. If you get past that, once you release it, it needs to be popular for a split second, like Among Us. And then when it's popular, you gotta like attack it to keep it relatively okay, to make people want to come back at some point, because it's not gonna stay this popular. You need to get someone to come back. And the way you get people to come back and stay back in, from what I think, is customization and personalization. I
yeah,
think those are the two things that draw people into a big game and keep them there compared to other ones. Like, why is RuneScape still popular when World of Warcraft is still popular? And it's because, in my opinion, of the customization of both sides. You pick one and what's more comfortable and fun for you, and you stick there. I think Rocket League is missing that customization aspect entirely. Like, oh well, Karma, you can just change the cars and the wheels. It's like, dude, no, that works for like maybe a week or two,
hmm,
where you change your car. Like you need something else that is customizable to come back. And I feel like that's what we're missing. Um, like I think adding more customizable options, which they're starting to now for private matches. I think this is
hmm,
the start. So
yeah,
you're starting to see more things for private matches. I think eventually you'll start to see assets being added in, hopefully. Like if I were in charge, I would add in assets to free play. Like being able to put like a giant wall in free play that you have to hit it over.
hmm,
Or a car that you can tell to go at a certain speed, a certain direction across the net, like a ball.
hmm,
Um, Customization aspects like that, and then everything Lethamyr does, but make that available to everybody,
yeah.
not just him because he studied whatever programming or however he does those maps. Make those assets available to everyone, those customization pieces, and really get the workshop people involved, because the workshop people drive your game, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, like how
um
long has Skyrim been existent for just because of like mods?
oh yeah, City Skylines.
Yeah,
You can go down the list of just like customizable games that exist purely because they are. I mean, I think Rocket League has a really great package for that, but they don't. It's not accessible to noobs like me. I can't go on and make a rings map, but
yeah,
I would love to. I've records on rings maps. I've spent thousands of hours doing them. I would love to come out with my own series of rings maps that
hmm,
change your mechanics each week, where you're walled chain dashing to get to the next one, like all these things that I can't do because or but Fortnite has it.
hmm,
You can make death runs in Fortnite. You can make whatever the hell you want in Fortnite. If you bring that to Rocket League, game changer,
Oh
which I
yeah.
think they know. They have to know. I'm not some genius here. I'm an average Joe. I think that these people probably already know, and there's a reason that it hasn't started yet. But I think that's kind of the basis. You want to add excitement back in? Sure, RL2 would work, but I
Mhm.
don't think that's happening. Till then, you got to bridge. You got to keep bridging, and
Yeah.
bridging is with content and not decals. That came out in season 1, that you changed the coding to a purple color here and a yellow color here and said, "Okay, that's new." But sorry, but I know a lot more goes into that. But just changing colors on decal skins doesn't work. The reason that there needs to be a pull for the decal. Like Valorant makes their decals cool for some reason. I can't explain how. Maybe it's because of all the content creators using it and the streamers using it, and it makes you want to use it, or certain animations, whatever. But Rocket League needs to do that.
Yeah, like the thing is like with Valorant and like their skins, like there's like it doesn't change the gameplay, but there's still like a tangible difference in the game. Like there's like a different audio sound. There's like the inspect animations are cool. Like, and the finishers are like the thing that really sells skins for most people. Like the thing in Rocket League is like goals are just like so meh. Like for the most part, like there's not really much build up to them. It's
I
like
think Gold Explosion should be attached to skins. Just my
yeah,
personal opinion. I
hmm
think that making that separate is an issue. I also
yeah,
think wheels should be attached to certain skin sets. I don't think you should be able to customize. There should be like,
some level of
I don't know how to
exclusivity.
explain it.
Like I feel
Yeah,
like
there should
yeah,
be some form of exclusiveness, but you should also be able to customize the exclusiveness. So, if I were to buy a G2 decal, it's purple and blue on the default.
hmm
I should be able to somehow do a challenge or something that unlocks different variations that either I can customize or that G2 presets as an option so that you're not stuck with one color once you buy it forever.
yeah,
That defeats the entire purpose of wanting the decal. Is because you want the G2 logo and you want to customize it and represent that team. But if you're forced to stick with one option only, the entirety, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
yeah.
Um,
Like there should. The other thing too is like there's still like very little like in the game other than like score goals. Like there there's not
like
like there's nothing like really encourages you to like get passes or like get assists because like they'll just happen naturally by the way like the assist counter works. And like I think score is like another thing that like heavily needs an update.
mm, like you're talking about like score on the scoreboard, not the
Yeah.
actual score of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, like per
Like
player.
because like it gives such false or like false feedback on like what player is actually doing good. And like obviously you're never going to be able to get something to a point where it's perfect and like but like the fact that you get more points for putting the ball on net at the surface level like all these things make sense, but once you get into like does this actually help, does this actually help the team at all, or does this lead to scoring, or like does this prevent you from being scored on, like there has to be that counterbalance. Like there's like a kill death ratio in like every video game, but in Rocket League there's not any of that like downside. It's only, oh, you touched the ball the most, cool.
Yeah, there's
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 not any
no
like,
kill streak or anything.
yeah, like there's nothing that's like showing you like the negative side of your gameplay like there is
Oh, I
in
see. I
other
see. Okay.
games. Like, cause like in Valorant, it's like, cool, I could get 16 kills in a match, and that may sound decent. But if I'm like 16 and like 20, it's like that's pretty bad. Like
Yeah. So
there's nothing giving that negative side to counteract the the
Well,
good
there's
half of
shot
what you did.
counter. That's like the only thing that,
But
but
that's
even
not.
that's variable.
But even that doesn't even like mean the shots were good. Like
Right.
it's like you could have had an open net and shot it so slow that the opponents were able to drive from your net and still
Mhm.
save it. Like
Yeah,
there's
this is where I wanted to. So I agree that they do have to address that for the casual, um, in the rank system. Like I think that definitely there's a gap there. I see what you're saying. You want a streamlined way for you to understand what you need to improve at more.
yeah, because for the average player, it's like, oh, dude, like I got 800 score, and my teammate like he didn't get any points like whatsoever. It's like, well, your teammates were dosed, and that's just won him the major right there, or the European. What was it? Regional 2 or Regional 5? Where he
Something.
like,
It's been a while since they
yeah,
won.
yeah, like he like I think he had a total of like 16 points by the time they were up by 2.
That sounds like Ritosin.
Yeah, but the thing is it's because every single thing he does doesn't get points, but it scores goals and it
Mm.
sets up his team. And so like there's this aspect to the game that score doesn't account for, and it's never going to be perfect. But like there needs to be some compromise between like the positive reinforcement aspect as well as like, hey, like you got dusted like so many times, so you lost 50 score, or like you took your teammate's boost, or like you didn't go for the kickoff, or you went to the wrong spot on kickoff, like, or like you're bumping your teammate, or like
Something that
there's
doesn't need a coach to tell you what's wrong.
yeah, something that should be like extremely obvious that a game could pick up on and be like negative 10 points.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's part of Rocket League's struggle is
Yeah,
the learning curve. I
yeah.
mean, it's so steep. Like,
It's there's all this false positive. There's only positive reinforcement in the game, and so it's sorting out like how positive is what you're getting, and like where does it actually reach the point that you're doing something good versus like uh
and this is why I
yeah.
don't think I would be good working for Psionics because my view is so clouded. I can't even imagine what a casual player thinks of this game.
Oh yeah.
Um, like I have no idea what a casual Rocket League player thinks. Because I know when they did this boost update, I was pissed at first.
Mhm.
Well, first I thought that everyone could see it, which I thought was terrible.
Yeah.
And then obviously that was corrected. But then the second thing around, at first I was annoyed because I felt like I had spent hours and hours and hours learning a skill that now new players are going to get for free. Um, and it was like a selfish reaction in the sense of, well, I worked so hard to do all this and now they just get that. Um, because it was needed. And after playing with it, it doesn't really, I don't even pay attention to it really, but I'm sure just on average, like it helps a lot. There are situations where I see where I'm like, oh, I'll take this from him. He's 0. I didn't know he was actually 0. So there are things like that that I just don't think about when it comes to this game and casual players. I definitely am way more of an expert at high level stuff slash professional scene um, ongoings. I'd say casual. I'm kind of bad at. I'm not
Yeah.
very casual at anything in my life. I would say.
Yeah, I think the issue with it is like it's good information, but the issue is you still haven't done anything to help the players use that information well. It's like, because like it used to be like, I'm kind of annoyed my teammate cut off, but like he wants to still be a second man, and I'll chill back as third. Now I'm playing, and it's like, dude, you're on 0. Why are you sitting for a pass that you can't get to? And then he's like,
Yeah.
oh, leaving, and then it's like you're slow back, like now it's just even more frustrating because like now I know you're even that much worse at the game.
Well,
It's
just think
like,
like as soon say Rocket League came out with all the stuff that I'm talking about. I
yeah,
think the first thing that I would do is like make an awareness pack
uh,
where I'm setting yourself up. I'm
Mhm.
putting you in a situation. There's one place where you need to hit the ball, and if
Mhm.
you don't hit the ball there, I don't know.
Yeah.
It says you're wrong and does it again, and you
Yeah.
can't pass the level until you hit the ball in the right spot.
Yeah.
Kind of like a death run in Fortnite.
Mhm.
Same thing. You could do a passing pack. You
Yeah.
put the ball in a tough spot. You give them a chance to shoot the net, but you put a teammate somewhere else and try and get them to hit it to the robot jumping in a certain spot. Um, just like things like that are missing right now
Mhm.
from the scene that would help both improving and content for community. Because I agree. I think that you're highlighting a good point here. Whereas if you can involve the community and create some type of content in a way that teaches players how to play the game through a community aspect, everybody wins. Right?
Yeah.
Or a game aspect. If you don't even want to include the community, go for it. But I just don't. I don't know how you do that in Rocket League because I think the only way that you can correct errors is through repeating. It's like a dog. Like you
Yeah.
just repeat the same action and then you teach them what to do instead.
Yeah. Like I think the other thing too, like I've talked about this like ad nauseum, but like just like the language of like how we discuss Rocket League is like so vague that it makes it to where you could sound like you know what you're talking about no matter what, just because of how vague all the terms are. Uh, but like that's the like with the first, second, third mentality. Uh, it's depending on like who you're talking to, like different people will think this person's second or this person's third to a certain extent, and like at the pro level and stuff, yeah, like at the end of the day, like we're filling different positions, but and it doesn't really matter necessarily who's second or third. Like they both just have assigned jobs. Uh,
Yeah, I would. I don't talk about the game in one, two, threes really.
yeah, like I think,
I talk about it in open space. That's how I
yeah,
talk about the game.
yeah. Like if anything, it's like striker, center, wing. Like that's what makes the
Yep.
most sense. Like because typically like you have the person going for the ball in some way, you have the person that's in the center of the field in some manner, and then you have somebody that's on the wing in some manner. uh
Yeah, they're both just trying to guess,
yeah,
pretty much.
yeah,
But
but
see, that's where I think the problem is.
mhm,
It needs to be a play.
yeah,
Shouldn't be guessing anymore. It should be he's going up from this side, and he knows the open space is going to be on this side, and I know that. So I'm going to get to the edge of the open space and sit there.
yeah,
That's not what's happening right now. What's happening is, ooh, I'm going to go for this ball, and I'm going to hit it.
hmm,
Good luck. That's mostly what we're getting to. I hope you read it.
yeah,
Whoever reads it better.
yeah. Like I think at the pro level, like I think it's like getting closer and closer to that, but like there still needs to be something like in game to like help with like positioning and like teaching
Oh
players
yeah.
like because it is abysmal like uh, at all levels like in ranked like and I get like there's a certain level of like there's timing and spacing that you have to deal with where okay somebody's like a good pass at you know a champ level is getting destroyed in a like pro SSL, like maybe even GC lobby, you know? And so, like, but a pass that like an SSL hits to his teammate, uh, you know, the champ more than likely isn't going to be able to like read and react in time. And
Mm.
so there's a certain level of like pacing that comes with it with the ranks. And so, like, that's where like there's got to be something to like teach that context, but also within like the pace of the mechanics that that skill group has,
Mm.
uh, and then
Other than
insert
just training packs with an unlimited boost.
yeah, because like it's like the amount of times like I'll be like, hey, I'm on your left because like I'm ready for the pass, and they've got the open space, and then they just like stop, slow it down, try to control it in the corner, and like then they get dunked, or they like try to pass it, and now it's too late. And it's
Yeah.
like,
And that's the biggest issue with
yeah,
passing, right?
yeah,
Is that your teammate doesn't do the right thing with it. So you stop. And
yeah,
that's the problem we're at now in
yeah,
twos. Your teammate doesn't do the right thing with the ball, so everyone has stopped.
yeah. And
And now
it's
there's no room for that experimentation going on where
yeah,
the person is getting the ball and fucking it up. Now
yeah,
for like 3 years now, no one is, well, rarely is that your second man just getting the ball and fucking it up and you're learning how to pass. It's just that whole element of the game is gone. Passing, I think passing it has lost its beauty, I would say. I think it's starting to come back. Definitely because that's just how the metas of the game work. I think you get into a pass heavy, then you get into a demo heavy, then you get into an individualistic heavy, and then they learn to pass it. It's like it's a
yeah,
repeating pattern. So I think we're starting to get into now we're learning how to pass with the control. So soon that'll be a thing. And then how you pass with the control now is I think there stops the cycle. Because
hmm
I think players now are going to get so good individually and at passing that uh like tactics start becoming an actual thing.
yeah.
And then that has been I've been waiting for that for years. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully it happens.
Oh yeah.
Instead of just kind of like intelligent monkey ball, which is
hmm
kind of what it is right now. Um, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I'm not saying the players are bad. They're incredible. Like the players playing right now are the best that have ever played Rocket League, in my opinion. They just don't play it the best way it could be played yet. And it's not because they don't know how, it's because they're innovating it as they go. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah. I think the other thing that would be really good for Rocket League is like really integrating the like esports side of it with the casual. Because like right
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, the esports live. It's like, all right, time for whatever console or PC you're on to like load for 15 minutes while it tries to go through whatever API to like pull up Twitch versus like I think this is something that is good about like the Fortnite space is like you can just be playing the game. It's like, hey, you want to watch like the Fortnite thing? Cool. Like go into
Just
like their server hub or whatever it's called, and like you get to watch it.
to me, us well, I don't know how simple this would be, but it'd be cool to just put a TV in stadiums
hmm
outside the glass when
hmm
esports is on, and you just play the feed.
hmm
And you can even have like an in-game sound for the person where you click it where it replaces your game with the feed,
hmm
right? And you can just listen to it while you're playing and the TV's on the side of the game in the background. That is just an idea or like um some different type of tab.
hmm
The way they have the esports button right now was really good when it first came out, but I think now with all the information and how other games have kind of implemented it, they
hmm
can definitely upgrade. I think that system, their website, like there's just
Yeah.
little things that they can mess with that would make ease of access, especially for casuals, way more easier to find information about the esports.
Yeah. I think working with the community to like get the because when somebody gets invested into the esport, they're now invested into your game.
Hmm.
Like because that's the because now that it's like they want to play the game, they want to like do stuff with the community, but without the like community collaboration, which is something else that I feel like has been kind of lacking of late. Is it's like, hey, here's a code to like show the cosmetics, which you know, like that's the business aspect of it. Like that has to be done, but
Yeah.
there needs to be more collaborations with like imagine if you brought in like uh first killer or like you know Itachi or Zen or like any one of these players while they're at the major, have them do like a full production video on like how to hit the ball hard and like put that up on like the Rocket League official channel. It's
Mhm.
like because now that goes out to like all the casual fans. Now you're like
Yep.
everybody now knows how to half volley, and now everybody will just send the ball for the next 3 weeks in ranked. But
Instead of misinformation on TikTok that I see all
yeah,
the time, and then I read that these people are making tons of money off of these videos that aren't even the correct information.
oh yeah, like
It's crazy.
there's so much bad in like there's a difference between I think bad and suboptimal. Like I would say like the Road to SSL series is like all like suboptimal information, but I wouldn't say any of it's necessarily like bad for the most part. Like it's still like it's good enough information. But there's some information that I've seen from like some people. And I'm just like, oh man, like you lack any
That should
understanding
be
of what's
illegal
going
to
on.
put out there. Yeah.
It's like this is how you ruin your team's like chances of doing anything. It's like, but yeah, that's there just needs to be like more collaboration. I think in general.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, Rocket League content creators are kind of yearning for it.
Hmm.
Um, and there's been this big like wait, I guess. I have felt like in the past they have,
Hmm.
I still I can't say I can't speak as truly to what they do now because I'm not a pro at the moment.
Hmm.
But when I was, I felt like I was pretty involved.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I was even at my first LAN was because Sonics offered to have me go on the desk for like a segment if I went. I was like,
Hmm.
"What? You'd let me talk to people? Sure." So then I spent a ton of money just to go out to California and I met a bunch of people. And that's kind of how I got started in terms of like my LAN presence and going to my first event and things like that. And I just feel like Rocket League's done a good job of kind of involving community people, and I think if they continue to do that and kind of lean more into it and involve more of us, and especially try and highlight the personalities more of their players, I
Yeah.
think would be good, especially the French ones, because I
Hmm.
don't understand quite the reach that they have, but something tells me in France it's extremely, extremely popular. Way more popular than, here in Boston anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, there's just, um, I just think that yeah, I think community outreach is a great idea, and they can do more of that.
Yeah. I think the last thing probably that last like really simple thing to do is to like change the like licensing requirements for like tournaments or like the community guidelines for tournaments. Like allowing that entry fee is what single-handedly built like the Smash scene. And like
So what is that? I'm unfamiliar with what you're talking about.
so for like community tournaments, like there has to be like a set prize pool, and you
Oh,
can't take entry fees to like feed into that prize pool. Uh, but the thing
I
is
see.
if they change that one thing and made it to where oh that if they just made it to where like you could do that within like a reasonable uh pricing, you know, like maybe set a cap of like 15 or $20 per team, or like a 3v3, like maybe tier it like $5 per person or
Hmm.
something like that. Like so if it's a 3v3 tournament, like the entry fee cap is $15, but uh that would allow for money to start to go and like circulate, and that's how a lot of tournaments like start out and grow. Like if you look at Get On My Level, any one of the like Smash circuits, it's all been that grassroots, and it all started with like, hey, everybody like $5 entry fee, and
Hmm.
like then they stream it on Twitch, and then like it starts building up and like enables the grassroots stuff, which I think is what we're moving towards. And I think that also enables communities to start to form, and also all of them compete to be the best type of tournament and be the best run tournament that then all the people show up to because it's the best tournament.
Yeah, and also all with the Rocket League community, I think is, um, I don't know how well received they are in terms
Mhm.
of like audience.
Mhm.
When communities have tournaments, I know like certain tournaments do great. Like we had that women's event that had like 23,000 people watching,
Mhm.
but then, other people try and do a women's event in the Rocket League scene and it has like 50 people watching. So I definitely think that I wouldn't put that on the community. I'd put that, I guess, on advertisement and
Mhm.
engagement. But more of those opportunities for people. I definitely agree that needs to happen. That entry fee is an interesting thing that I've never heard of. Um, which I'd be curious for sure.
Yeah.
Allowing a organization to actually get something in return for what you're putting on, I mean, that's craziness.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like you have to put it on and you're not making any profit. You're just getting by and then you're hoping to do it again. So,
Hmm. Yeah. I think there's definitely room for that. Because that also, like, it just does so many things to like enable it. It's like, because if you start to get a bigger tournament, it's like, okay, now the prize pool starts to become bigger. Because if you have 100 teams show up for a $15 entry fee, like, now you have a $1,500 tournament each week, and then that starts to draw eyes. And then now it's like, okay, now we've got enough money that we can be like, okay, like, there's still going to be an entry fee, but it's going to be $1,000 plus whatever this
so
prize pool
what about
is.
all the like casuals? Did they
Hmm.
still pay an entry fee?
Yeah, like it's just an entry fee for everybody. So like
Okay. So
that's
my worry, I guess, would be that the casuals don't want to pay it, and then you're in a problem.
well, that's for the this is for like the more competitive side of things
I see. So
anyway.
you're talking about like top level.
Yeah, like we're talking
Okay.
like if you're not top 500, like you're not playing in these tournaments anyway,
Okay.
you
So
know.
you're talking about like gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, like although like rank B plus and up tournaments that are just like, hey, we hope you show up for $100, which I think they should, but that's a whole different conversation of
Yeah.
bringing back to the community and not just trying to take everything from it. Like you've got to invest back in the community that's helping you. I think that aspect's kind of been lost too, but I think that starts with the devs.
Yeah, it's not been helped, I
Hmm.
would say. I know that they've definitely wanted to grow the community for a while. Back when they were trying to give money to, third party companies.
Hmm.
Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah, what was it?
My
The
mind is kind of
AAA,
blanking.
the like AAA series.
Yeah, they had that. There were a few things. I know that they're still trying to do it now. Like
Mhm.
I imagine that there are conversations happening now for
Yeah.
tournaments to come this fall. Um, so I imagine that we're going to see kind of an iteration of that.
Hmm.
And I just wish it was planned. I just
Yeah.
wish like I knew what was coming
Yeah.
so I could mark things down and like build a schedule. It just seems like Rocket League is I've been flying by the seat of my pants for like 6 years. I don't know when events are going to happen. Thankfully they announced Worlds and
Yeah.
London really early, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
So now I actually can go to Worlds. I'm planning on it. Feels good, man. Thank you, Sonics. And more things like that would be awesome. Um,
Yeah. Like to have
and
the season schedule announced in December and be just like, here is what next season looks like. Like,
yeah, I would do it at Worlds. I
yeah.
mean, I'm not on the Sonics team, but I'm hoping that they have to know that this is bad
Yeah.
and that it's a bridge year. I'm assuming they know all this
Yeah.
because I thought that that was last year. So I
Hmm.
guess it's a 2-year thing now. Fine. But there has to be some type of plan. I mean, I've wanted to, and I hope I'm going to have the chance to be able to um, talk to Sonics because I want like more circuits added. I don't want just the RLCS. I would
Hmm.
like them there to be like a League One where it's the top. Like my idea for a league, and I've only named it League One because I can't think of anything else. And FIFA, when I played FIFA, I know Mbappe's in League One. Anyway,
Hmm.
and it's a Wednesday night only event, and it's only top 4 teams from each whatever. So this is
Hmm.
where I'm running into the issue. So it's your top 4 teams from each region, or top two, depending. That's variable. They play on Wednesday nights in a single match format,
Hmm.
but I wanted to switch it to somehow include penalty shots for overtime and increase the match length to 8 minutes.
Hmm.
Now, this is hard because I don't know how to set up a penalty shot. I've tried to do it in training,
Hmm.
and setting up a training shot. I've tried doing it in private matches, and I hate every single way that we have as an option right now. It all
Yeah.
sucks.
Hmm.
Giving someone 100 boost, doing the kickoff countdown, putting another person in net, it's awkward.
Yeah.
So like something where we can simulate a penalty shootout would be really cool.
They already
And then
have it like
extend
80% of the way there in game. All they have to do is make the normal ball appear for the heat seeker mode. Like they already have the spawns and everything set up for penalty shots and like that type of thing. All they've got to do is just make it to where you could spawn the normal ball.
yeah, and you're good.
Yeah.
So, and then what you would do is on Wednesdays, you do the I haven't thought all of this out, by the way, so I'm kind of just giving you sparing details. It's aggregate total for goals, not who wins the game and who loses. It's aggregate score total over a certain amount of matches, and it goes on for months. And it's just a single match at night, I think, like a best of 7 every Wednesdays. It doesn't interfere with anything. And then as it builds up and the storylines get better, then you start to advertise it. But in the beginning, it's just best of 1 show matches like league play in the beginning.
Yeah.
So like things like that run alongside RLCS, I think would be fantastic. A 1v1 league alongside RLCS is something that I think is extremely interesting. I would not advocate for a 2v2 league. I know some people think that it's awesome. I don't think it's very entertaining. I do think high level gameplay goes on in it, but it's very easy to exploit and it's not the most fun to watch. As a player, I'm sure it's fun, but I don't know. To me, watching twos is different than playing. I think threes is your most entertaining mode. I think ones can really highlight individual players. So when you have a 1v1 circuit, you're not highlighting gameplay because that'll happen by itself. You really want to highlight the personalities. And in threes, you want to highlight the gameplay because that's really good. And hopefully the personality gets known through other things. Anyways, these are just some ideas that I'm hoping to talk to Sonics about this year or this upcoming season, just because I really like the idea of being able to incorporate a different version of competitive play while we have pro play going along. Something that adds in a different element. Another issue for that whole thing is how do people play internationally? That's an issue.
Yeah.
Ideally, I would want this on LAN, but that's not going to happen. So there are certain things that you need to work out, but introducing just a different way to play the game in the same parameters while getting the same level of gameplay and the same personalities, I think would be a huge breath of fresh air. You could even change it so that the match on Wednesday affects a different match and I don't know. There are ways to mess around with it, but I love the penalty shootout idea. I became obsessed with it one night and I was like just messing around with ways. How did you say you did it? Heat Seeker Spawn?
Like you just, I don't know if you could do how you would do it, but like the heat seeker spawns are perfect for that. Like, because it spawns the ball.
Because I would want it like
right in
you
front of
can't
you.
move out of the penalty box, but you can go on the back wall. But it has to be within the sides of the penalty box, but on the back wall. And if you go outside of that mode, it ends, and the player shooting wins. And then if the person shooting, once the ball leaves the ground, it cannot hit the ground again. So you can't bounce dribble for your penalty shot. It has to be a flick or in the air. If you disagree and you want the bounce dribble side of things, okay, then you just add a timer.
Yeah.
But the reason that I think ball hitting the ground is better is because one, that encapsulates the tradition of Rocket League. When the ball hits the ground, it's over. So it's already a natural thing for people. And the second one is I only want them to have one attempt. So like, I don't want you to go for a freestyle. You still have boost left. The guy saves it and it lands in front of you and you shoot again. That doesn't count. Once you shoot, to me, it's over.
Yeah.
Like hockey. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with hockey, but
yeah, I would love to see like a Rocket League match like set up like hockey, where you have basically like 3 periods for the game, and then over the course of like a month, you're playing that same team in a best of 7 of a cumulative score of 3 games. So like you have 3 periods. So basically, like it's just the score carries over
3
from
games
one
is
game.
one game.
Yeah, is one game, and then you're playing that in a series against like a very
So that's
Stanley
what I was
Cups.
kind of talking about.
Yeah, like I would
Where it's
love to see
aggregate
that.
score total across multiple games. Yeah.
Yeah, Like, I would
That's what I
love
like
to
too,
see that.
because then it doesn't matter if you win the series or not. It
Mhm.
matters how many goals you score and how many you prevented. So the
Yeah.
actual outcome doesn't matter,
Yeah.
which is kind of stupid, but at the same time, kind of cool. Because as a viewer, you don't really realize that because the wins do matter, but not really.
Yeah. And then also, I think it will encourage more experimentation. Uh, because like it's like, okay, cool, like we scored and now we got to sit in that and like not let them score for a few minutes. It's like, okay, cool, but now you've got to do that for like 10 minutes. It's like, or 15
Yeah.
minutes, depending on when you score. Or it's like, oh, they have a really good period. It's like, hey guys, they scored 4 goals on us last game, so now it's like 4-1. We got to score 3 goals this game. Or like we're out. It's like
Like
it
that.
brings a level of intensity that I think the normal Rocket League kind of gets like boring to a point because it's, oh, we got to score right now, or it's like
Exactly.
that last second goal doesn't matter.
That's what I'm
But
trying to recreate. The
yeah,
whole tournament is trying to recreate a 0-second goal.
yeah,
So what you're doing is you're doing that through the use of aggregate score. So if the other team loses 3-2, the series isn't over. If they win the next game 4-2, they win.
yeah.
Even if it's only 2 games, they win. And it's the same with like I want to get into a scenario where G2 is playing Gen G, but Gen G's in the number 1 seed
Mhm,
and they're ahead by 4 goals and there's only a game left. So G2 has to go into this game and score 3 goals or 4 goals in order to tie it
mhm,
and go into overtime and then win the shootout in order to win 5-0. Like something like that, I think would be really interesting that we've never had in Rocket League before, that we could introduce at a high level in a competitive environment pretty easily if we're just allowed to customize
mhm.
the arena just a tiny bit more.
Yeah.
Um, so something like that that I'm trying to talk to them about for next year ish.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping. So yeah, those are just like hopefully no one steals that idea, but that's just
Yeah.
one of my ideas for a tournament circuit that I like the idea of something that keeps soccer. I hate that word by the
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Soccer as the regular play style, but just tweaking it so that it's not crazy and it's also something similar to what you've seen before. All
Mhm.
these all these European people watching will be like, "Oh, I know this type of thing. It's from the Champions League." Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very similar. Champions League is what inspired me to come up with this idea. Um, so like I want to bring the Champions League to Rocket League
Yeah. And I want to bring
because
the Stanley Cup playoffs to Rocket League.
yeah, exactly. So like including different elements of sports
Yeah.
within the circuit of our own game is only a good thing, I think. Unless we put it on and it blows. Like there's a
Mhm.
chance that I could go through all this effort and put on the tournament and people hate the format and it sucks.
But we
Um,
never know unless we
right,
try.
exactly. So it's worth trying.
Yeah. Oh, somebody in chat said I wanted to bring the Piston Cup to Rocket League as its own game mode, which honestly, we've got all the custom maps for it. Like racing, like an actual Rocket League racing game would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
That's why I like ring maps.
yeah, it would be so much fun. And I think that there are
Or
maps,
imagine
I
like
think,
a mechanic circuit
yeah.
where the pros all enter and it's stupid for like 50 grand and it's sponsored by like mobile.
Hmm.
And for one weekend, the Rocket League pros go and they're doing this obstacle course.
Yeah.
And they all buy into it and they're all having a good time. And it's like Fortnite death runs. And like,
Hmm.
we need that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, we need it. It would be great.
If only Eversax hadn't commissioned a map that would perfectly fit this.
I know. I play it all the time.
Yeah.
See, we need to be able to make those without paying for it,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I, need is a wrong word. I think we should be able to
Yeah.
have access to assets to make private maps for each other. It's just a good way to incorporate workshop people, and I think workshop people are they're cornerstones of gaming. So
Yeah. Well, it has been a great conversation. I think we've hit a lot of fun topics. Uh,
as
we'll
usual, I
definitely
talk
get.
way too much, so I apologize.
No, that's the entire point of the podcast is as a guest is to talk too much.
Yapping.
uh, but yeah, we'll definitely have to bring you back on. Maybe we can get Garrett G on here and we can have a debate on how twos is played. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I'd love for Garrett to put me in my place. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Army, you're trash. Listen here. I'd be interested to hear his opinion because I imagine that he's. I don't know. I don't think I'm that crazy. I mean, I know I'm crazy, but not, like way out there that crazy when it comes to this. But I could be wrong, totally wrong, and I'd love to accept that. It just seems like from all the conversations that I've had with other pros and pros when we watch replays, like we all, I don't know, it's kind of a similar mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't coming from nowhere.
Yeah,
So,
I think everybody like has that feeling. It's just trying to educate enough to like help like ranked be playable and like the next ups be able to be played with. So it's not like, oh dang it, I've got a rank B plus player on my team right now because like they're just gonna do X, Y, and Z. It's like there's a lot of basic things that I think like people could do to like help, but I think the big thing is we've got to, as a community, find somebody to like rally behind and be like, this guy knows his stuff, and everybody support a certain level of that, or like be like, these are the three people to like go follow, or like that's where we've got to get to, like, because without that it's gonna be, oh, we have like all these, if you want to call them friend coaches or just clickbait farmers or stuff like that, like we've got to have something that the community rallies behind, that's not just, oh, go play like Zen, because if you don't understand the game, you're not going to be able to copy what Zen is doing in his decision making, because you're just going to see, oh, he mechanicked, you know.
and
So
that's what a lot of the NBA is becoming right
mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah.
A lot of the NBA is having similar struggles to Rocket League, where their excitement is through individual moves and not through team plays. And
Yeah.
Rocket League's going down the same path, exact same path.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
and you hear
never
all the
ending.
older players in the NBA talk about how all these players these days just shoot threes and they don't, and it's like it's the same things as we're talking about now.
Yeah. They're shooting threes, going for flipper sets. They're basically the
They're
same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except the flipper set only gets you one goal still. So
That's true. There's no point differential for goals. That would be interesting.
that would be interesting. Like if your card leaves the ground before it
Half.
like
2
halfway
points.
line, like you get 2 points.
Like a
Like
full field air dribble flip reset goal would count 2 instead
yeah.
of counting for 1.
Yeah, I think that might be an interesting format. And that's something that you could easily do with admin tools. Just like as the replay is going on, you just do a quick pause and add an extra.
Just bump it up.
Yeah. Like, hey, we're coming up with some interesting ideas.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, come on, shootout mode. I mean, that's an easy, like, how do we not have shootout mode right now for when you were with your friends
Hmm.
and the ball just, you're at half field with 100 boost, your friends in the net with 100 boost, the ball just drops from
Hmm.
the center and you
Yeah.
do whatever. And you have a
Yeah.
countdown of 10 seconds. Like, that's just an easy mode that you can just throw in limited time, see if people like it. Then
Yeah.
if the reception for that is high and people enjoy it, you make a tournament out of it with that as outcome. Like, they're just really cool things.
Yeah.
And you see, I'm getting all excited about this.
And
And
it's a fun mini game that you could be like, the first 3 shots are like ones that plop on your car and you have to dribble. The next 3 shots are ones that are passing left to right. The last one's
yeah,
like it's coming off the backboard and you've got to, like, you could put like all these training pack scenarios and
and
then
work with the bot too. Isn't
yeah.
there some crazy bot going around that pros are playing? Throw
uh
the bot in 1v1 the
yeah.
bot where the bot can't leave a certain area of the net and it just circles and waits for you to shoot and sees if you can beat it.
Yeah.
Um, there are cool things coming with
Yeah.
gaming that weren't available
Yeah.
before that are now exciting. Make it actually adds more of a competitive element to gaming than I think had existed, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm going to get on to my next meeting. So I think we've had a great conversation. We're definitely going to have a part 2 to this.
Yeah, for sure.